holidays, which means it's time for indulgences. But I have a healthy indulgence for you. It's high protein cookies. I've split up the ingredients into wet ingredients and dry ingredients. In the wet ingredients, we've got 2 containers of fat-free Greek yogurt. This is plain Greek yogurt. It has 15 grams of protein per container. I have 2 large eggs here. This will be mixed into one bowl. And then with the dry ingredients, Bisquick pancake and baking mix. This is gluten-free, so it's a little bit more easy to digest. I've got powdered peanut butter here. The brand doesn't really matter. Just make sure that you look for something that doesn't have additional sugars. Coconut flour is awesome for adding substance and fiber to the cookie, which helps hold it together and keeps you feeling fuller longer. I've got some baking powder here. This is awesome for leavening, makes the cookies nice and fluffy. Then we have Dymatize ISO100 protein powder. This is fudge brownie flavor. It is 25 grams of protein per scoop. We'll be adding 2 scoops of this. And then over here, our last ingredient is Swerve. This is a sugar replacement. So this is erythritol and stevia. It is not artificially sweetened, it's all natural, and it bakes awesomely. So it makes the cookies taste nice and sweet. Before we get started mixing the ingredients, set your oven to 350, and then take 2 cookie sheets, line them with foil, and spray them with non-stick cooking spray. In this large bowl, I'm going to place the wet ingredients. So this is 2 containers of the non-fat Greek yogurt and the 2 large eggs. All of the ingredients and the directions and the nutrition facts will be listed in the description. So don't feel like you have to write everything down as we go, but just kind of follow along. So there we go, 2 containers here. Got the large eggs. And one of the secrets to cracking an egg is you don't want to crack it on the edge. It's good to crack it on a flat surface, and that helps minimize the amount of shell that you get into your cookie batter, because no one likes that kind of crunch in their cookie dough. With the wet ingredients, what you're going to do is just mix them together. Make sure you break that yolk and blend it together so it becomes somewhat uniform. So that's it for the wet ingredients. With this bowl, we're gonna take all of the dry ingredients and place them in here, stir them up so they're well incorporated, and then we'll be taking all of the dry ingredients and pouring it into our large bowl where the wet ingredients are. Starting with the Bisquick, we need 2 cups of this. And you don't need to sift it. It doesn't have to be exact either, which is kind of one of the awesome things about this cookie. So I've got 1 cup here. And 2 cups. Powdered peanut butter, 1/2 cup. And same thing with this, you don't have to sift it, you just pour it straight into the measuring cup. Make sure you've got about 1/2 cup. Toss it in there. Next ingredient is the coconut flour. This will be 2 tablespoons. I have a 1/2 tablespoon measured here, so that will be 4 of these. But if you have an actual 2 tablespoon or tablespoon measure, it will only be 2 of these. The next ingredient is our baking powder, and you're going to use a teaspoon of this. Now, my mama taught me how to cook, and we eyeball things, so there you have a teaspoon, but if you feel better, use an actual measure. The next ingredient, and the one ingredient that gives us a lot of protein, is the protein powder, the ISO100. 2 scoops of this, and it's just 2 level scoops. Awesome chocolate flavor, it smells so good. And the last ingredient is our sugar substitute, the Swerve. I'm gonna do 1/2 cup of that. So that's it for the dry ingredients. As you can see, they're not well incorporated yet, So just take your spoon, mix them all really well. And now the fun part, we're going to pour most or about half of the dry into the wet, and then just start slowly incorporating it. Since it's gluten-free, you don't have to worry about over mixing it. A lot of the cookie recipes that use traditional wheat flour, you have to really worry about over mixing, but there's no gluten in this, so mix until you get a good arm workout if you want. And if for some reason it ends up being a little too dry, go ahead and add a little bit of almond milk, or you can add a little bit of egg whites. But it will look pretty dry until everything becomes incorporated. And just a little bit more. And with that chocolate and the peanut butter, it smells amazing, but it's very low in fat, high in fiber, and very high in protein. So it crushes those cravings without ruining the waistline. It's going to look like it's not going to mix together, and you just have to really work it in there because it will. So I'm taking kind of the flat part of my spoon and almost dragging it across. There will be a point when you're mixing it where you'll think that you have to add more liquid. That's not the case if you really work the dough, and you'll see the consistency is perfect here for scooping them out. We're going to roll them into balls and baking them, so you want this dough to be nice and thick. I've got the cookie sheet here, I've got foil liner, it's sprayed with nonstick cooking spray, and I'm taking a very generous spoonful here, and I'm going to just roll it up a little bit and place it on the cookie sheet. And you want to place the cookies probably 2 inches apart because they will spread out. And try to make them the same size. That's a problem that I have. I start making them pretty small, and then they tend to get bigger and bigger the more I make. So the goal for today is to keep them all the same size. They'll bake evenly too if they're the same size, which really helps. So get them into that ball shape. And try not to handle them too much because your hands are warm and the dough will start to stick to your hands after a while. So I think we can fit 2 more in here, and then we'll move on to the next sheet. With a fork, you can flatten them out. This is that classic peanut butter look with the tines across. And this also helps the cookie cook evenly because you've got an even layer from side to middle to side. And it looks kind of fancy. And if you want to get really fancy, you can sprinkle the tops with a little bit of that Swerve, and it'll crystallize and become all shimmery and sparkly. The oven has reached 350 and the cookies are all ready to go in. So let's bake these. The cookies will bake for 11 to 13 minutes. Set the timer for 11 minutes and check them. If they look slightly underdone, pull them. You don't want to overcook these cookies. Because of the high protein content, they'll kind of turn rubbery. The timer just went off and we're going to check the cookies and see if they're close to being done. They look good. I'm gonna take them out. We'll let them cool for about 10 minutes and then take them off, put them on a plate, and they'll be ready to eat. Let's give these a try. A little bit doughy, a little crunchy on the outside. This is the perfect cookie, and the macros are amazing. Thanks for watching. Until next time, eat well, y'all. The timer just went off, and it's time to check the cookies. The problem is, when I have this on my hands, I think it's like a puppet, so. Okay,